This is Let Us Interrupt You. It's not an episode here, but this is March Madness Review here on Sunday, March 19th, 2023. I am Joseph Olivo. It's Interrupt You at this point with the no podcast in here as I'm trying to adjust my camera here. Having a little camera issues right from the jump here. Having a camera issue with this computer tonight. Not a good thing. All right. I think this might be just a tad bit. It's slipping up. See, I had a perfect camera view for this the last time. I don't know what the hell happened. But anyway, so I have some March Madness review for the first two rounds. First round started on, I believe it was Thursday. I got through the first half of the first round itself. As far as the other results go, it goes like this. Purdue lost in an upset. They lost in the first round to Fairleigh Dickinson, 63-58. Zach Edey had over 20, I think he had 24 points, I believe, in the game. Purdue overall, though, was 526 in the game, missing a lot of threes in general. They were missing. They actually had more three-point attempts right now than I think Zach Edey had more shots in this game. I was able to get to their free throw line a lot. That made the difference in the game. He was 5 for 26 in the game. That was not the only upset that took place in the game. Although I think I don't think I covered most of the stuff right now. I'm waiting for the results to pop up on my end here, based off because the second round started on Saturday, which was yesterday. So as I'm recording this right now, I'm going to give you the results for the first round here. So here's all the first round results. You got Creighton beating North Carolina State 72-63. Marquette beat Vermont 78-61. St. Mary's beat VCU 63-51. Baylor beat UCSB 74-56. Xavier advanced and is on right now, currently in the second round, playing against Pittsburgh. They beat Kennesaw State on Friday 72-67. Michigan State beat USC 72-62. Gonzaga beat Grand Canyon 82-70. PC unfortunately had a loss in their tournament. They are now officially done. Kentucky got the 61-53 win over PC. Pittsburgh beating Iowa State. They're now currently playing against Xavier right now. They beat Iowa State 59-41 in the game. UConn beat Iowa 87-63. Miami beat Drake 63-56. Florida Atlantic got the game winner, winning 66-65. Montana State losing to Kansas State 77-65. TCU barely surviving Arizona State 72-70. And Indiana beat Kent State 71-60. So that was your first result of the first round. Second round started as of yesterday. It goes along along lines like this. Tennessee beat Duke 65-52. This game was hard hitting. Tennessee, the more aggressive team, surprisingly, in this matchup. I thought it'd be more Duke. Olivia Nakahoa, I think that's what his name is, had 27 points in the game. Tyrese Protector had 16 points in the game as well. So that makes it interesting for the most part there for them. San Diego State beat Furman 75-52. The defending champion Kansas Jayhawks come up short against Arkansas in a 72-71 win. Kansas going into that game was undefeated when they were up by 8 points or more before the end of the first half. They led for most of the game. Arkansas only led was 2-0. It was back and forth. It was two unfortunate bad free throws that finished the game for Kansas. I think the guy was trying to miss one, but he made both by accident, and that was the end of that game. Princeton beat Missouri in an upset. Princeton is advancing to the Sweet 16, as all these teams are, that I just announced here in the second round so far. They got a 78-63 win over Missouri. Houston beat Auburn 81-64. Texas beat Penn State 71-66. UCLA beating Northwestern 68-63. Alabama beating Maryland 73-51. And the second round for those games today goes as follows right now. You got Xavier, who's currently up over Pittsburgh right now, 42-28. You got Kentucky playing Kansas State later on today at 2:40. You have TCU Gonzaga on at 9:40. You have Michigan State at Marquette at 5:15. UConn playing against St. Mary's in the West region at 6:10. You got Creighton playing Baylor. You have Fair Dickinson versus Florida Atlantic. And Miami facing Indiana. Indiana is 2-point favorites. Florida Atlantic 16.5-point favorites. By the way, Fair Dickinson almost 25-point underdogs heading into that game against Purdue, and they hung in there. And really, here's the funny thing: they led, I believe, going into the half of that game, if I'm not mistaken, or they were down. I think they were down by one. I think they were down by one going in against Purdue. Purdue, by the way, who was a Final Four favorite, they were predicted to go all the way to the Final Four and possibly face off in the national championship game against Kansas. I had them twice in my bracket, and I never have this very often. But when I thought about the head-to-head physicality of these matchups, Purdue and Kansas could bring the physicality they really wanted to. Unfortunately, Kansas came up short in their game by 1 point, and unfortunately, bad timing. But Dickinson, though, I don't know if it was their defensive play that forced the 3-point round. They basically did not allow a lot in that paint. It was just a bunch of jacked up threes that weren't hitting. And when I watched this game back, I didn't really watch it live, but when I watched it back, it reminded me of the 2018 Eastern Conference Finals with the Boston Celtics and the Cleveland Cavaliers. It just every game at this point that has a game like that, and Iowa State and Pittsburgh had the exact same thing as happened to them as well in that game. Iowa State kept jacking up too many 3 points at one point and got to a point in that game where they just kept missing twos as well. So they weren't making anything. They weren't making a damn thing. In fact, at one point, when you open up a game, when you're on a 20-2 run, you know you're not going to win the game. You know, you're just not going to win the game if you're Iowa State, being the unfortunate ones that had to suffer through that. That game overall, it was interesting. It was really telling in that, you know, in those rounds what would have happened here. Pitt going in that game, though, I'm going to give you the leading scores in that game. Nellie Cummings had 13 points. Was 5 for 11 in the game. Jaron Holmes had 12 points in that game. For Kentucky, Oscar Tshiebwe set a record, biggest record in NCAA history with the most rebounds. 25 rebounds and only 8 points in the game. 25 rebounds. And Tony Reeves had 22 points for Kentucky. Ed Crossrow had 16 points. This was Bryce Hopkins' revenge game for not believing in him at this point and allowing him to get transferred in that game. 39 minutes, only had 7 points in this game. Came out flat right from the get-go here. The rest of the team had to carry him. This was not a good revenge game. I'm just saying, really underperformed. Really didn't even try his hardest at all in that particular matchup. I just thought that was sad. I really thought it was. I'm not going to go through the box score through all these games, but UConn and Iowa I will check out especially because that game was close at one point. Iowa I thought was going to take it here. Bill Murray was at this game watching it all happen. Adam Sungo had 28 points, 13 for 17 in the game. He was 2 for 3 at the free throw line. That's what made a difference in this game. It was the height, physicality at this point. Iowa have had too many small players. UConn had got too many big ones. And UConn just overpowered them. Rick Pitino's still there. Great head coach. Got a team, though, unfortunately, that I just can't hang. I just can't hang with the tough teams. It's really that simple. Currently, right now, Xavier beating Pitt right now 45-29 with about 2:11 to go. Oh, actually, about 1:45 to go. Excuse me, in the first half. As this game is currently going on right now. Xavier, though, a lot of excitement. Right now, they just had the guy had a block shot just now. It blocked back into the Pittsburgh offensive player, and he just lost it out of bounds. That was in with the block. Or Nunge. Is it Nunge? Yeah, it's Nunge, yeah. The big 7-footer was definitely off the guy's hand. One referee just ruled it out of bounds on Xavier, and one ruled out of Pitt. They talked it over. It was off of the Pitt player. Obviously, it was off his hand. If anyone who's not watching this game live right now. But yeah, that is the story as far as what's going on now in that particular game. I'll give you my rest of my picks right now at this point. I got Marquette beating Michigan State. I have Gonzaga beating TCU. I'm actually going to go with Kentucky in the upset today over Kansas State. I think Kentucky might make it to the final to the championship game. If Kansas and Duke aren't going to go in, there's got to be like a big name school that can go into this whole thing. And Oscar Tshiebwe, I think honestly with Kentucky, if he keeps getting rebounds like this and boxing people out the way he did in this game, Kentucky's going to go deep in this whole series. I don't see how they don't. And they're actually favored today over Kansas State. So there you go. I'm going UConn over St. Mary's. I'm actually going to go with an upset pick here. I'm going to take Creighton over Baylor. Even though I do have Baylor advancing deep here, I should be going with them. But I want the upset pick at this point. I want the 2-6 seeds to go ahead with this one. I want to see Fair Dickinson. I don't think if there's ever been a 16th ranked team that hasn't been one in a while that has advanced to the Sweet 16. I kind of hope they beat Florida Atlantic. I don't think it's going to happen. It'd be nice to see, but I think Florida Atlantic will win that matchup there. And I think Indiana beats Miami. I think this is the end of the road for the ACC at this point. There's not really another ACC team on here that's going to make a deep run for it besides Pitt, who I think is going to lose to Xavier anyway, so it won't really matter. I had Xavier's going as far as the Elite Eight, I believe. So I have them winning today, which I figured that, Pitt and Xavier would be tough. It would be a close, tough encounter. But it seems like Xavier's going to run away with it. So that's that. We got to get into some Celtics talk here. The Celtics, the last couple of nights, they had a victory over the Portland Trailblazers. In fact, I might as well just give you the score right out of the gate here. I can get them out of the way from the NBA from Friday night. Hawks beat the Warriors 127-119. Bulls beat the Timberwolves in double overtime 139-131. Grizzlies beat the Spurs 126-120. Celtics beat the Trailblazers 126-112. I believe Jason Tatum in that game had 34 points in that game, and he did, and he had 12 rebounds, so he had a double-double in the game. Mavericks beat the Lakers 111-110. No Kyrie Irving, no LeBron James. Not really much you missed in that game. Sixers beat the Hornets 121-82. Cavaliers beat the Wizards 117-94. In this game, Garland had 24 points for the leading Cavaliers, and the Rockets beat the Pelicans 114-112. As of last night, the Warriors lost again 133-119. I think Jared Jackson in this game had 31 points for the Memphis Grizzlies, and he did. Magic beat the Clippers 113-108. Markelle Fultz for the Magic had 28 points in the game. Paul George had 30 points for the Clippers. Let's see. Knicks beat the Nuggets 116-110. Nuggets could not overcome the Knicks in the end there. Mitchell Robinson had an alley-oop dunk from Jalen Brunson, who had 24 points. He made his comeback as of yesterday. He was out with injury, but he came back at the right time for the Knicks to get the win over the Nuggets. Sixers beat the Pacers 141-121. Embiid had 31 points. So did Tyrese Maxey. They both scored 31 points. Tobias Harris added in there with 24 points in the 141-121 domination in Indiana. Kings beat the Wizards 132-118. Sabonis, I believe, had 30 points in this game, and he did. And the Bulls beat the Heat 113-99. Not much you missed there with this one. But the Celtics just blew a double-digit lead in this game. Jaylen Brown had 25 points in the game. Jason Tatum playing the game only had 15 points. Had a bad night shooting. 4 for 12 in the game. 3 for 8 from 3. Grant Williams had a really great night, though. He was 8 for 16 in the game. 7 from 12 from 3. Had 23 points. Seemed like he was the only Celtic that really showed up in this game. Nobody else really got into it, really. Horford did not play in this game due to a lower back stiffness. And I guess J.D. Davison, wasn't going to play another minute for the Celtics in that match against the Jazz. I guess he didn't want to play at all, I guess. It was a coach decision, supposedly. But overall, this game was not fun. Jaylen Brown in this game had a struggling night as well. He went 9 for 19 in the game. 4 for 9 for 3. Not bad from the three-point shooting range. But I will say this, though, about the Celtics last night. Not a good look when you lose to a crappy Utah Jazz team who, I don't know, is actively trying to take this point, try to actively get into playoffs. I don't know what their story is. Okay, I really don't know. But this was not a good look. This was a bad night for the Celtics. And Grant Williams, this is probably the best game he's had probably within the last 3 months. You talk about a guy right now that's been on a 3-month slump. He woke up really quickly. He was the only Celtic that really showed up last night in this game. Tatum had 39 minutes last night. Jaylen Brown had 35 minutes. I don't know why. I mean, Brown, I think, only had 2 fouls in the game as well. So that really surprised me. Tatum had 3 fouls in the game. But was managed to put up 40 minutes. This was basically Brown's off night. Even though he was a leading scorer in the game. Grant Williams showed up and played. Blake Griffin, for what he had for minutes, he came in and played at a pretty good, effective level. But the Jazz showed up in this game last night, second half wise. Markkanen came out 28 points in this game, 10 for 23, 4 for 12 shooting for 3, 10 rebounds. The guy was on a mission. He was on a mission at that point. Kessler had a double-double as well for the Jazz. He had 12 points, 14 rebounds. Tucker Horton, I think it's Horton Tucker it was 8 for 20. He had 19 points, had 7 rebounds, 5 assists. The Jazz in this game had it all figured out. Their bench showed up. Dunn had some decent numbers in there. I mean, not great, but decent. Rudy Gay was all right with 9 points. So the question is now what's going on with the Celtics? Are they falling apart in the teams right now at this point? They are. Do they look like a team right now that's going to compete right now for the NBA Finals this year? I don't think they are. I don't. I'm feeling less and less confident every day while watching this Celtic team. They're in a slump right now at this point. Can they overcome the Philadelphia 76ers? They probably could. Can they overcome the Milwaukee Bucks? I don't think they can. And it's not size. It's just the heart. And right now, they're losing heart right now. They got a coach who's got no heart right now to even compete. But he has the heart right now to open his mouth and say stupid things on the radio. And really, basically, completely make this team lose their stamina. I mean, he's got to work on how to call timeouts at certain moments. There are some times where he does not call timeouts at the right time. It has been happening all season long. And to me, honestly, I don't know. I don't see how people would even like to have this guy even around, because the fact that he got the interim tag removed from him came too soon. And the reality of it is that's where all the pressure started to get in this kid's head. I know the guy's older than me. He's 35 years old. But you're a young head coach. I get it. You're inexperienced. But there's some common sense things that you just try to improve. And there's nothing that's been improved about this team so far. And that's the painful thing about the Celtic team this year, is that somehow they're going to continue to struggle going forward because they have a guy who, at coach, just doesn't know the word stamina, doesn't know the meaning of cardio, doesn't know the meaning about resting people at that moment and during a timeout. Doesn't even know the meaning of the word timeout. That's what sucks about this whole thing. And the more you do that in these games, especially in the important ones, the more you hurt your chances of the team going deep into it right now without feeling jet lagged and completely exhausted by the end of it. That's just. They got game Tuesday night will be the Celtics Kings matchup, which I will get into that matchup, preview that matchup, and I will be able to post a score on my thing, because this week's schedule I think is, for now, going to go back to normal. I will decide whether or not if I do a 3-day this week. This will probably be the new schedule now: Tuesday, Friday, Saturday. I will let you all know on Tuesday on whether or not we do 3 days this week. This is not an episode, by the way, by any means. So technically, this does not count as an episode. This is just a review for March Madness for the Celtics. And I'm going to go right into Boston Bruins, because that's what we're going to do here. We're going to do a little bit of hockey here right around now. Bruins, the last couple of days, they got the win over the Minnesota Wild yesterday. They had a 5-2 win. Bruins were great. They were great in this game yesterday. Pasternak had a great game yesterday. He had a power play goal midway in the second period. This game opened up with a 1-0 lead by the Wild by Johansson. Later on, DeBrusque got a goal, his 21st of the year, assisted by Bergeron and Marchand. Pasternak had a power play goal that was assisted by Lindholm and Marchand. Later on, Krejci gets a goal of his own thanks to Zacha and Pasternak. Pasternak has his 45th assist of the year, makes it 3-1. Wild get a goal, but the Bruins just kept going with it. Bergeron with a goal, and Frederick with an empty netter to put the game away. The Bruins are now 52-11-5 as they play the Buffalo Sabres in Buffalo today. It should face off right about now. The game should already be starting already. But anyway, before I get into more Bruins talk right now and more takes here about the Bruins, Avalanche got a win over the Red Wings yesterday, 5-1. Oilers beat the Kraken yesterday, 6-4. Maple Leafs in a shootout against the Senators. They got the win over Ottawa, 5-4. Rangers shut out the Penguins 6-0. Dallas Stars win in overtime in Calgary 6-5. Islanders beat the Sharks 4-1. Winnipeg Jets go to Nashville, win in overtime, get a 3-2 win. Hurricanes beat the Flyers after being down 4-1 in this game, and coming back, forcing overtime, getting the win over the Philadelphia Flyers 5-4. Bruins yesterday were great. Yomark was excellent in this game. He's continuing to improve a lot in this game as far as what he's done for the Bruins this season. He was great yesterday. Had 29 saves overall. This man he's got the Golden Glove as a goalie for this team. That's all I gotta say. He's got the magic touch. I don't know what the head coach has done to him this year. I think the fact right now that he's reached into him more in this one than Cassidy's ever have. I mean, it's something remarkable at this point. Swayman, he has his ups and downs, but I mean, he's been heading towards more up lately too. But this team's been excellent this year. The fact that Bergeron came back, and this guy's on a 1-year deal, and the Bruins somehow win the Stanley Cup right now, and Bergeron goes out like that, off that 1-year deal, and gets that championship. This is not meaning Bergeron comes back and plays another season, or Krejci comes back. I think they're both gone at the end of this year, whether they win a cup or not. Pasternak at this point, he's a long-term Bruin. I think he's retiring as a Bruin, and I think he's going to retire as the face of hockey too, along with Linus Ullmark at this point. Linus Ullmark at this point, who I'm surprised at this point, no one's thought of giving him an extension. I mean, this guy has played like an MVP caliber goalie this year, and he deserves a contract extension as well. It's not just Pasternak here. You got guys in there like Nosek, who's got the nose for the puck. You got guys like Hathaway. You got at the right wing position. I mean, he was great yesterday too. Bazzuri on defense was great in the left wing. You got Orlov. I mean, this team is making differences, making strides every week. Lindholm at defense. Gretzky at defense. Lindholm has been getting better at defense lately at the right time. So that's good. That's good for the most part. And I think realistically, the Bruins right now at this point should really consider giving Ullmark an extension, should keep Orlov around, should keep Lindholm around. Clifton, you can keep around. You can keep Carlo around. I would say McAvoy at this point, he could stick around too. They're all good defensemen as far as I'm concerned. They're a good pack. They got an entirely great system here. And who knows at this point? Who knows who's going to end up leaving as well. You got DeBrusk at this point. A lot of people are questioning whether or not he's going to stick around or not at this point. Because there was a point last year where he wanted to get traded, then he upped his trade value last year and didn't end up getting traded after all. I think was that DeBrusk last year? I think it was DeBrusk now, or it might have been Coyle. Was it Coyle? No, it was DeBrusk. It was DeBrusk, I think. But anyway, Bergeron was great yesterday. He had some pretty good shots yesterday. Got the goal yesterday. Bergeron's been excellent this year. He's been excellent this year. This guy's been around for a long time. This guy is going in right now, 37 years old. He got 25 goals this season, 26 assists this season, 51 in points. Not greatest stats in the world, but when he's in at those particular moments, he can show up at the right time. He's there for you when you need him. This has been a great team to watch. Pasternak this year, though, has been awesome this year. This guy's been playing on a great level. Second in the league in goals at 47. 25th in the league right now in assists at 45. Tied for fourth this year with 92 points. He may be third and fourth in the MVP conversation. And he's got the contract at the right time, and he's playing at a great level. He's been excellent this year. So we'll see what happens going forward with this Bruin team. But I think this Bruin team is set to win a cup this year. I don't think this team has got a choke mentality. I am finding it hard to believe this one with a team with this great of a record to then lose it all. I just can't imagine it. This feels like a 40-year awakening for the Boston Bruins organization. And yes, this team won a cup 13 years ago. I get it. Or I guess at this point, technically it's 12 and a half. But we're at the luxury now that we could say now that the Boston Bruins, might as well be favorites right now to win the Stanley Cup at this point. And if they don't give Linus Ullmark at least an extension here, or talks of an extension to start the 2023-24 season, they're insane. They're insane as far as I'm concerned. I think they're absolutely out of their minds. So I think they should give the guy an extension. I hope they do. And that's the end of it. All right, so that's it for the review. Did not really try to go too long here, which is good. I will review the second round on Tuesday for the rest of the games. You'll hear me from that one, review all those games, give my thoughts on that one as well. I will review the Aaron Rodgers saga at this point and why it seems like now that the De Niro deal might be dead, or at this point might be a shift in plans here where Aaron Rodgers might be set to go to LA instead. My take of where he would go and who we would take with him. You know, was it all up for Saad at this point to get Jet fans hyped up at this point, or did the Packers just kill the deal? You know, it's one of those stories. You also get I'll get more into Brandon Cook's story. I'll get more into depth about where he ended up going. By the way, if spoiler alert, he went to the Dallas Cowboys for I believe it was a 5th round pick. I believe, if I want to say at this point, it was a 5th round pick for this year's draft, or a 4th. I think it was a 4th round this year. It was a 3rd round, 5th round pick, I believe. Anyway, Brandon Cooks got traded to the Dallas Cowboys today. So much for Brandon Cooks going back to New England. That's not happening. And you got Laramie Tunsil, who just got an extension, got a 3-year, $75 million extension, and it includes $50 million guaranteed to play a few more years with the Houston Texans. That just came in as of this morning as well. I'll get into more NFL story stuff right now. I'll talk Bruins stuff right now. I'll give you this update, though. By the way, if anyone's wondering, they just scored a goal. So hopefully they continue to win. They just scored a goal within the first 2 minutes of the game against the Sabres. That was off of the goal scored. I'm just trying to figure out who got the goal here. It was off of Bergeron. Marchand with his 40th assist, and DeBrusque got his 20th assist. Bruins are up 1-0 now in the first period. So hope you enjoy the rest of the weekend, folks. Keep watching the Bruins if you're watching hockey. If you're watching March Madness, well, keep watching great college basketball. It's still around. By the way, my bracket's dead. So it doesn't look like it's going to be Alabama, Kansas this year, although Alabama beat Maryland last night. So it could be Alabama versus Houston. It could be Alabama versus Kentucky. You never know. That might be the matchup. Just never know. All right, guys. I'll see you on Tuesday. I'm out.